Recording done. Good morning to all of you. Can you hear me? Please, somebody respond. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today we will study physiology of hearing. Now, why is hearing important, or is hearing important for us? Hearing is important for two main reasons. Number one, communication and localization of sound. So, if there is a language, then how to communicate between two persons, between each others. So hearing is important. And the second most function is localization of sound. If we will not hear, then how we will know from where the sound is coming? So the two main, if hearing is important for communication and localization of sound. Now, what is required for normal hearing? For normal hearing, there are five main things. Number one, adequate stimulus or adequate sound. The sound must be adequate. Adequate means it must be of proper intensity and proper frequency so that our ears can hear it. Number second, the sound must be conducted effectively to our sensory organs. ठीक है? So number first, adequate stimulus. Number two, conduction of stimulus to sensory organs of hearing. Then the organs must transduce the sound so that sensory transduction of stimulus at the organ of hearing should occur. Number fourth is neural transmission of the signal. Once the sound reaches the inner ear, then the sound must reach the brain where the sound is processed. So number fourth is neural transmission of the signal. And number five, the central auditory processing, the area of brain where the sound is processed so that our brain is able to understand it. Now, some basic concepts. Sound. What is sound? Sound is a form of energy that propagates in the form of waves. The speed of sound depends on the medium through which the waves passes. Speed of sound in air is 343 meter per second, and in water it is 1482 meter per second. It varies according to the medium. The sound, as it is a wave, it has certain frequencies and amplitude, but the human ear is able to hear sound of certain frequencies only. The sound frequencies that is audible to humans range from about 20 to 20,000 cycles per second. It is also expressed in hertz. Sound intensity is expressed by taking the logarithmic ratio of the two sound intensities and multiplying by 10. It is expressed in decibels. So what is the amplitude or loudness? Amplitude of sound or loudness of sound, it is also known as the strength of sound. It is expressed in decibel. Then, as it is a wave, so it must have some frequency or pitch or tone. Now, frequency is described as the number of cycles per second. It is also known as pitch or tone, and it denotes the appreciation of frequency. It is expressed in hertz. Number third is impedance. What is impedance? Impedance is the resistance offered by a medium to the sound waves. For example, if a sound is transmitted through a certain medium, whole of the sound energy is not transferred. Some portion of the sound energy is reflected back, and some portion of the sound energy is absorbed by the medium. As a result, total sound energy is not transferred. There is some resistance offered by the medium in which the sound waves travel, and this is known as impedance. Now, intensity. Intensity is defined as the power transmitted by a sound wave per unit area. Intensity is dependent on pressure and velocity average taken over the whole cycle. Displacement produced by sound waves vary with frequency. If the intensity is constant, low frequency vibrations produce greater displacements. We can understand by this picture, as sound is a waveform. So this is a crest and this is a trough. From distance from one crest to another crest is known as wavelength, and this one in the y-axis, this is the amplitude. This is the waveform in which the sound waves travel. This picture describes the human auditory field. Okay, the y-axis shows the intensity of sound. Intensity is expressed in decibels. For example, 20 decibel, 40 decibel. As the intensity of sound increases, the loudness of sound also increases. And on the x-axis, it is the frequency, starting from 20 hertz, and it goes on increasing 1 kilohertz, 2 kilohertz, 20 kilohertz. This is the range of the frequency of sound that the human ear can appreciate. And this is the curve between, this is the perception limit. The sound frequencies above this limit are not appreciated by our ears, and the lower curve is known as threshold. The sound frequencies below this threshold are not appreciated by our ears, and between the two curves, in between the two curves, this is the area, is known as conversation area. To be audible to our ears, the sound must be between these two limits. The upper one is the perception limit, and the lower is threshold. And between these frequencies, that is between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz, the sound waves which are lower than 20 hertz are known as infrasounds, and the sound waves which have frequency more than 20 kilohertz are known as ultrasounds. These extreme sounds, which are more than 20 kilohertz and less than 20 hertz, are not audible to our human ears. If there is a two sound and there is a difference of less than 10 microseconds, then our ears cannot differentiate between the two sounds. To our ears, if the difference is less than 10 microseconds, then the ear will consider it as a single sound. So our ears can detect the difference between two sounds occurring only more than 10 microseconds apart in time. Yeah. Now look at this picture. It shows the function of ear as a transducer. Okay. This is the external ear, that is the pinna and the external auditory canal. It mainly functions as an organ to collect the sounds. It collects the different frequencies and amplitudes of sounds and transmit to the middle ear. This is the middle ear. Its main function is the conduction of sound. It acts as a conductive mechanism. In this, the sound waves strike the tympanic membrane, and in the middle ear, there is an ossicular assembly. This is malleus, this is incus, this is stapes. The sound wave strikes the tympanic membrane, then it is transferred from the tympanic membrane to the middle ear ossicles. Then via the ossicles, it goes to the inner ear. The inner ear mainly functions as nerve impulse conversation. Now the mechanical energy is transmitted through the from the middle ear to the inner ear, and then via the auditory nerve to the brain. Now from the inner ear to the brain, the sound energy is transferred via by as a electrical signals. Now, natural resonant frequency. What is the resonance? There are different values. The resonance of the external auditory canal is 3000 hertz. That of tympanic membrane is 800 to 1600 hertz. That of the middle ear 800 hertz, and the ossicular chains, that is malleus incus stapes, it is 500 to 2000 hertz. Resonance means the particular frequency of sound which can be which can be conducted most effectively and efficiently. That is, the external auditory canal will conduct the sounds of frequencies which are 3000 hertz more efficiently and effectively. That is known as natural resonant frequency or natural resonance of that particular organ, that tympanic membrane. If a sound of frequency 800 to 1600 hertz is transmitted, then the tympanic membrane will most effectively and efficiently transmit the sound of this frequency only. If the frequency is below 800 or more than 1600 hertz, then the transmission will be less. So these are the natural resonant frequencies of the different parts of the ear. Now, functions of the external ear. There are three main functions. Number one is collection of sound. Number two, increasing pressure on the tympanic membrane in a frequency sensitive way. And number third is sound localization. As the external auditory canal is like a tube with one end closed. So when the sound travels via the external auditory canal, it causes pressure on the tympanic membrane. Now, this is the picture of external ear. This is pinna concha external ear canal and the eardrum. External ear acts as a resonator. It increases the pressure at the eardrum in a frequency sensitive way. This also helps in localization of the direction of sound. Sound collection. Pinna concha system catches sound over large area and concentrate it to the smaller area of the external auditory meatus. This increases the total energy available to the tympanic membrane. It is also shown in the picture. The sound energy, these are the sound waves, sound energy that strikes the concha, pinna, and when this sound energy is transferred to the auditory canal, through the auditory canal to the tympanic membrane, the pressure is increased because of the shape of the pinna and the external auditory canal. Features of the external canal. It opens on one end only. The impedance of the eardrum is about 3 to 4 times more than air. Impedance means the resistance that is offered by the eardrum to the propagation of sound. It is known as impedance. The impedance of the eardrum or the resistance of the eardrum is about 3 to 4 times more than the air. Now, 30% of the incident energy gets reflected from the external canal. That is the amount of sound waves that are being focused on the ear canal. 30% of them get reflected. Only 70% reaches the eardrum. The ear canal is more efficient or more effective in conducting sound energy, sound frequency range of 3 to 5 kilohertz only. The sound frequencies less than 3 or more than 5 kilohertz are not conducted effectively. This also helps so that some unwanted frequency sounds are cut off. Not all the sound waves reach the ear canal. This impedance helps cutting the unwanted frequency sounds and helping better speech discrimination. This picture shows how the pressure is increased while the sound is transmitted from the external auditory canal to the tympanic membrane. As the shape of the external auditory canal is like a tube, so it is a tube with one closed end and the other end is open. If a tube which is closed at one end and open at the other is placed in a sound field, then pressure is low at the open end and the pressure is high at the closed end. This phenomenon is seen in the external auditory canal at 3 kHz frequency and at the concha at 5 kHz frequency. The two main resonances are complementary and increases the sound pressure in the range of 2 to 7 kilohertz. Because that is because of the shape of the external ear canal, the sound pressure is increased in the range of 2 to 7 kilohertz. This means that it helps in amplifying the sound energy. Now, sound localization. How does the shape of the pinna help in the sound localization? You can understand it like because of its shape, the pinna shields the sound from the rear end and changes timbre. Timbre means quality and helps to localize sound from in front or back. Suppose that a sound is coming from particular direction, then the sound wave reaches the ear closer to the sound source before it arrives in the farthest ear. Suppose a person is standing and a sound comes from the right side. Then the sound reaches the right ear earlier than it reaches the left ear. Second, suppose a person is standing and a sound wave comes from the right side, then it will more intense on the right ear and less intense on the left ear. Now, the auditory cortex in the brain integrates these two cues and determine location. Okay. Now, what is total gain? The total effect of the reflection of sound from head, pinna, and external canal resonances is to add 15 to 20 decibel to sound pressure over a frequency range of 2 to 7 kilohertz. Because of the reflection of sound and resonance of the various structures, resonance of there's a difference resonance of pinna, external auditory canal, tympanic membrane. These all help in adding about 20 to 15 to 20 decibel sound pressure. That is, these help in increasing the or amplifying the sound pressure of those sounds which have the frequency range of 2 to 7 kilohertz. Now let's know the functions of middle ear. These are the important functions. Number one, the middle ear couples the sound energy to the cochlea. Cochlea means inner ear. So the middle ear couples the sound energy to the cochlea or inner ear. Number second is impedance matching. Number third is attenuation reflex. Number four is the physically how the middle ear protects the cochlea. We will see later on. And number fifth is the phase differential effect. Phase differential effect couples sound preferentially to only one window, thus producing a differential pressure between the windows required for the movement of cochlear fluid. We will see these points one by one. Number one, first impedance transformer. Impedance is defined as the resistance offered by the medium for the transmission of sound. Suppose 100 sound waves are transmitted to the medium, then some of the waves are reflected and some are absorbed. Not all the sound waves will cross the medium. Those sound waves which are stopped, reflected, or absorbed, it is known as the impedance. It is also known as the resistance that is offered by the medium. Now, middle ear acts as impedance transformer. What is impedance transformer? Impedance is defined as the resistance offered by a medium for transmission of sound. Middle ear ossicles, that is malleus, incus, and stapes, they are suspended by ligaments. There is also certain a particular axis of rotation of the ossicles, and the axis of suspension by ligaments virtually coincides with the center of inertia. At low frequencies, the ligaments play an important role in maintaining ossicular position, which is also known as elastic effect. Middle ear converts the low pressure, high displacement vibrations of eardrum into high pressure, low displacement vibrations, and this is suitable to drive cochlear fluids. If a sound wave is causing a high displacement and another sound wave is causing low displacement, then the cochlear fluids are displaced more by sound waves with low displacement, that is low amplitude, low frequency. Now, impedance mismatch. As you can see in this figure, if there was no middle ear, then 99% of the sound waves would have been reflected back from the oval window. If there was no middle ear present, this is the picture of the cochlea, and here that middle ear. If there was no middle ear present, then only 1% or less than 1% of the sound waves would have reached the cochlea or inner ear. Middle ear, thus middle ear helps. Middle ear by its impedance matching property allows 60% of the sound energy to dissipate in the middle ear. Now, impedance efficiency. Only 60% of the sound energy from the tympanic membrane gets transmitted and absorbed in the cochlea. Without the middle ear, only 1% of the sound energy will be absorbed by the cochlea. Low frequency sound dampeners. Middle ear efficiency is the best at 1 kilohertz, 1000 hertz. The sound waves having 1000 hertz of frequency will be transmitted more efficiently and effectively by the middle ear. There is a transmission loss of low frequency sounds due to elastic stiffness of the middle ear ligaments. That is, annular ligament is most important. What is annular ligament? It's the fibrous structure that is surrounding the footplate of the stapes. As the stapes is attached to the oval window, the footplate of the stapes is surrounded by the annular ligament. The annular ligament, it attaches the footplate of the stapes to the oval window. Air inside the middle ear cavity also dampens the low frequency sound transmission. Now the impedance matching by the middle ear system. uh, Three important mechanisms. Number one is the area of the tympanic membrane relative to oval window. As the area of the total area of the tympanic membrane is about 54 square, and the effective vibratory area is about 45 square, and the area of the oval window is 3.2 square. So as the sound waves are transmitted from the tympanic membrane, which is having an effective vibratory area of 45 square, to the oval window, which is having an area of 3.2 square, there is a increased pressure of about 14 times. Number second is the lever action of the middle ear ossicles. And the ratio between the handle of malleus and long process of incus is about 1.3 is to 1. It gives it increases the sound pressure by about 1.3 times. And number third is the shape of tympanic membrane. These will be elaborated in the next slides. Look at this picture. Uh, this is the area of the tympanic membrane. It is about 54 square in an adult ear, and but the effective vibratory area, which vibrates the most, is about 45 square. And this is the area of the footplate of the stapes. Its area is about 3.2 square. So the ratio of the effective area of the TM and the effective area of the stapes footplate is about 14 is to 1. It is known as effective areal ratio or effective area ratio. Thus, by focusing sound pressure, by focusing sound pressure from large area of the tympanic membrane to the small area of the oval window, the effectiveness of energy transfer between air to fluid of the cochlea is increased. This difference in the area of the two vibrating surfaces increases the focusing sound pressure to the inner ear. In this picture, it is described about the lever action of the middle ear ossicles. Handle of malleus. This is the handle of malleus. And this is the long process of incus. These are three ossicles: malleus, incus, and the stapes. Now, lever action. This is lever action is the ratio of the handle of malleus and long process of incus. The handle of malleus is 1.3 times more longer than the long process of incus. Overall, Overall, this produces a lever action that converts low pressure with the long lever action at malleus handle to the high pressure with a short lever action at the tip of the long process of incus. means that through this leverage, that is the ratio of the handle of Malleus and long process of Incus, the sound waves is amplified 1.3 times more. Uh, this shows the about the tympanic membrane. As the sound energy strikes the tympanic membrane, the tympanic membrane buckles as it moves to and fro. The sound energy strikes the tympanic membrane, and because of the pressure of the sound energy, the tympanic membrane moves to and fro. And this buckling effect of the tympanic membrane, it also acts as a mechanical lever. This causes high pressure load displacement system, helps in amplification of the sound. Now, this is about the hydraulic action of the tympanic membrane. The most important factor in the middle ear's impedance matching capability comes from the area ratio or the areal ratio that is described earlier. Total area of the tympanic membrane is 54 mm square. Functional area of tympanic membrane, functional area, that is the area that is vibrating, uh, it is about 45 mm square, and the area of stapes foot plate is 3.2 mm square. So the effective areal ratio, if you divide 45 by 3.2, then you will get this data. Effective areal ratio is about 14 is to 1. Thus, by focusing sound pressure from large area of the tympanic membrane to small area of the oval window, the effectiveness of the energy transfer between air to fluid of the cochlea is increased. Action of tympanic membrane. Eustachian tube also plays a role in the conduction of sound as it equilibrates the air pressure in the middle ear with that of the atmospheric pressure, thus permitting tympanic membrane to stay in its most neutral position. A buckling motion of the tympanic membrane results in an increased force and decreased velocity, produce a fourfold increase the effectiveness of energy transfer. Now, there is a term total transformer ratio. uh, when we multiply the aerial ratio, that is 14 is to 1, and the lever ratio, that is 1.3 is to 1, we get 18 is to 2. This is known as the total transformer ratio. The combined effects of the area ratio and the lever ratio give the middle ear output a 28 decibel gain theoretically. In reality, the middle ear sound pressure gain is only about 20 decibel. This is mostly due to the fact that the tympanic membrane does not move as a rigid diaphragm. Now, this one is important, the phase differential effect. Uh, as the sound waves travel uh, from the tympanic membrane to the inner ear, the sound waves take two paths. One is via the ossicles and other is via the air that is present in the middle ear. Now, the sound waves striking the tympanic membrane do not reach the oval and the round window simultaneously. There is a preferential pathway to the oval window due to ossicular chain. That is, the sound waves which travel via the ossicular chain reach the oval window earlier, and the sound waves which travel via the air present in the middle ear reach the round window a little later. This acoustic separation of the windows is achieved by the intact tympanic membrane and a cushion of air around round window. This contributes 4 decibel when tympanic membrane is intact. Suppose that there is no ear ossicles, no tympanic membrane, and the sound waves reach directly the cochlea. Then they would reach at the same time both at the oval window and the round window, and their effect will be nullified. So this is known as phase differential, that there is some difference in the time that the sound waves reach the oval window and round window, and this is important. This is known as phase differential effect. Okay. So I think this is enough for today, and we will study in the next class.